Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to Divine Allegiance. I am your host Maulana Baig. Thank you for joining us. This show is a show that we speak about Islamic topics and Islamic themes and try to answer the questions of today, the relevant issues of today according to divine revelation and the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. We try to go in depth so that the principles and the golden rules that we have been given to follow our daily life is made clear to everyone. And it has been the great 3 weeks that we have started, a lot of good response from all of you. We are very encouraged to see the great love that has been shown by all the people who are watching. And we now are going to start to promote this show elsewhere and try to make it go further. We want to reach as many people as we can, and we want to get the message out to many people as we can. And obviously the show at first is for the believers to know their religion, but also meant for others to understand Islam in general. We really wanted to have a presence, and alhamdulillah, Allah has given us the chance to do this and to bring it forward to you. So we have been discussing many subjects, and one of the subjects that I discussed is regarding Imam Mahdi, and one of the shows that we did regarding Imam Mahdi got a lot of response. It was a show that was about racism. Now, racism, it was from the angle that we need to know the Imam and have the marifat of the Imam and recognize the Imam. Now, in recognizing the Imam, the important issue is that the Imam is a human being. He is a complete human being. And being a complete human being, it's important for us to focus on human qualities, because when you're trying to recognize a human being, you're trying to recognize the believer, you're trying to focus on qualities that make a person a believer, make a person a great human being. And then when you focus on those, then you recognize that this person truly is amazing or not. Otherwise, if you, for example, are caught up in incidental issues of human beings. For example, if you discriminate on race and nationality and language, and these things matter to you, and you think that people who, for example, look like me and the people who, for example, speak like me are better people, then it's very difficult for you to know the Imam and to recognize the Imam. I mean, we have centers that, for example, in their bylaws, it is written that you have to belong to a certain ethnic group to be a member of this place or to be elected as an official in this place. And so if you belong to an ethnic group, so when the Imam will come back, how can he become your leader when he can't even be a member of your community? So really, when you get stuck up in these little things and these small prejudices and these small ethnocentricities, then it's very difficult for a person to recognize the Imam. So that was the basic discussion and the line of discussion. And the point that really struck a lot of people, and a lot of you were really good on this point, and they really appreciated the point. But you know, I mean, it is out there, and it's stuck out there that people had a hard time believing that, for example, Imam Rada was dark skinned, or that Imam Jawad was dark skinned. I'm saying dark skin, but really the way it's described in hadith or history or riwayat is that he was of a dark green complexion, which obviously to us means, that a black complexion. So this has made some people, squirm, I guess, and uneasy. And this needs a little explanation here, right? And I think, this is one of those things that if we have issues like these, we need to grow out of them. We need to start growing up and becoming mature about how the thinking of Islam works. So first of all, let me just tell you the problem. This is not a new problem. The problem has been going on for a long time. And there was the issue that one person said that, that Imam Reza was black. It was interesting to know that, because he wasn't not just black, but he was not purely white. Now, that is also another, again, misconception. Which Imams were purely white? None of the Imams. Rasulullah wasn't. Rasulullah was an Arab. Allah says that in the Quran. This is an Arab prophet. He's an Arab. He has the characteristics of an Arab. And Arabs are not white. In which country are they regarded as white? Arab is an ethnic group. It has it's a race of people. They have a wheatish complexion. And that's what they are. And hence, you see that if you see Arabs today having, for example, fair skin, that's a lot of intermixing. Thousands of years of intermixing of Muslims going and conquering different places and intermarrying, and so many things are happening. Now it's just a mixed race of people who speak Arabic. At that time, these Arabs were from one region. And hence, none of the Imams were ever white. So get that out of our mind, that they were ever white. They were Arabs at first, and then even the Imams were intermixed. And, we saw that, for example, Imam Hussein was married to an Iranian. And the daughter, the son of this marriage was Imam Zainul Abidin. And then from there, we see that the Imams after Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam, they all came from African mothers. All of them. None of them had a non-African mother. None of them. Imam Jafar as-Sadiq's wife, her name was Hamida Khatun. And she was Nubian. She was African from Ethiopia. And she was the one, for example, who purchased a slave girl by the name of Walad, or Najma Khatun. Najma Khatun, also known as Walad, but Najma Khatun, who was the mother of Imam Reza. She purchased the slave girl and freed her. And then, that lady married Imam Reza, and, they had a son. So this is like going onwards. All of them had African mothers. So it's very surprising that if you have African mother on one hand, and on the other hand, you have an Arab father who's half African, because the father is Arab, but the mother is African. Hence, you see that the gene pool, and I'm not an expert on genes, and you can just look it up, they were like 3/4 African coming downwards. Each of the Imam consecutively as they came downwards. So the fact is that it's not a big deal. And for us in Islam, it should not be a big deal at all. It shouldn't even be a deal. It shouldn't even be an issue. But unfortunately, I see that a lot of racism does exist. And whether we like it or not, people do see themselves and others in terms of race. Whether it was an ignorance from the time of Jahiliyyah of Arabs coming downwards, or it was a result of the British colonization of the Muslim world. Whatever it was, you see that there was this influence of looking at people according to the color of their skin and thinking that one color is better than the other. So when a question like this was given and explained Islamically, which I'm going to do right now, when it was explained Islamically, and I will explain to you where race or color of your skin, what role they play in Islam, right? And I will explain that to you in a minute as the show is going to unfold. But I want to tell you that this has been an issue in the past also. Even in the time of Imam Rida, when he had his son, Imam Jawad. There's a hadith in Usul al-Kafi, the first volume of Usul al-Kafi. And Usul al-Kafi is not a, as every Shia would tell you, not some sort of a minuscule book. It is the most important hadith book for Shias, is Kafi. And in the first chapter of Usul Kafi, this riwayat has come regarding an incident that happened after the birth of Imam Jawad. It's a very unfortunate incident that happened. It could be argued as to the authenticity or the circumstances around it, but in short, this is what happened. What happened was that the relatives of Imam Rida, his uncle, Imam Rida's uncle, and his brothers and sisters, when they saw that Imam Jawad was dark, I mean African dark, they protested. They said that this cannot be our child, a child from our family. We don't have complexion like this. We don't have someone like this in our family. They accused the wife of Imam Rida, astaghfirullah, for doing wrong. Imam Rida repeatedly contended that this is my son. This is my son. They did not believe that. They said that since they used the example of the Prophet, that since he also relied on face readers, there used to be face readers. It was like a science then of recognizing people by their features and in their way, their feet. They will look at different things and they will match who is the son of what. It's not an exact science. It's not like a DNA test or anything like that. But it was something of that sort. So they wanted to do that. Imam Rida really did not like that. He said, I will not take part in this. This is, my son, and I know that. And obviously, this is the Imam of the time. And just to give you a backdrop, right? Before I go into this, give you a backdrop of one of the reasons why they had this problem is the fact that Imam Rida did not have a son until the latter part of his life. Meaning that Imam Jawad was born when Imam Rida was 47 years old. So many years he had lived without a son until the people around him also regarded him as someone who cannot have a child. So when Imam Jawad was born, one, it was surprising for a lot of people that how can he had a child, and two, what made them more given to this sort of ludicrous ideas was the fact that he was dark. he had an African complexion. So based on that, they had doubts. Now, Imam Rida did not entertain these doubts. I mean, he was very blunt about the fact that he's my son. In the hadith, it says that. So now, they said that we want to get a face reader to come here. So, arrangements were made to get the face reader. Imam Rida, again, did not want to take part in this. So, they asked Imam Rida to go, and he was in the yard of the house. They got the face reader to come. They brought out Imam Jawad, who was a toddler, baby. They brought him out and they lined up all the household members and they said that which one of them is the father. Imam Rida wasn't there. He said, which one of them is the father of this son? And the person looked at it and saw it and he said that, you know, none of these are the fathers of this son. And then when he saw Imam Rida walking by, he looked at Imam Rida and he said, that is the father. So the face reader verified that Imam Rida is the father of this child. And so, you know, the matter was settled for a time being, you know, and it said that even after, I mean, really, even after Imam Rida left to go to Khorasan, to Mamun, it said that they took Imam Jawad, the relatives took Imam Jawad to a face reader in Mecca. And here they went one step further, that they accused one of the servants in the house of Imam Rida, who was African, and they were accusing that person of being the father. They took him along with Imam Jawad too, and Imam Jawad was only like 5 years old or something like that at that time, to Makkah, to a face reader there, and there they had him look at it, and it is said that that person who saw this and he saw Imam Jawad, he fell at the feet of Imam Jawad, and he then cursed these people for even thinking this is the case. He said that this boy belongs to the family of the Prophet. He belongs to the family of the Prophet, and this is his sign. I know the family of the Prophet. I've been there, and you all should be ashamed of yourself for doing such a thing to them. And then Imam Jawad also said certain things, you know. But this is a history of that. So it's not something new. It has happening. This is in Al-Kafi. And so now, there's debate about the circumstances, authenticity, and all of these things, right? But that's set apart, right? The fact is that the mothers of the Imams were of African descent. Now, why is this a problem? You see, the reason it's a problem is because our thinking is based on wrong principles. The people who think that it's wrong, that the Imam can't be black, is based on wrong thinking, wrong ideas, completely wrong ideas. That makes no, Islamic sense and has nothing to do with Islam. For example, this is the argument I got from someone learned it online. And that argument was that Ayat al-Tathir. He said that, you know, Allah has said that Ahlul Bayt are pure of all impurities, inner impurities and outer impurities. And being black is an outer impurity. And hence, it cannot be that he is from, that the Imams can be black. And now, obviously, to me, it's like, listening to him, for me, really, listening to him sounded just like what Shaitan had said, that I am made of fire and he's made of dust, or dirt, or mud, or clay, whatever he said. Teen, khalaqtuhu min teen. He's made of clay. Shaitan said that about Adam. And Allah is saying, really, what does that have to do with anything of one being better than the other? If Allah makes one of fire, one of clay, what does that even have to do with anything? that has no relevance in a greatness of a person or the lowliness of a person. My friends, these are the mistakes that are made in thinking. Completely incorrect thinking. So if a person has this thinking, how in the world is he going to recognize the Imam when he comes back? Because he's already prejudiced. He's already narrow-minded. His mind is messed up. How in the world is a person like this going to even recognize that this is the Imam of the time? Or to even stand with him and be with him? It's not going to happen. We need to rectify our thinking and have the correct Islamic thinking that's out there. And as I briefly mentioned when I gave that talk, I briefly mentioned that what makes us great are human qualities. Things that we achieve, not what God made us as. If you are tall or short, if you are Chinese or British, if you are white or black, it has nothing to do with how good you are or how bad you are. These are destinies that Allah has placed you in. It has nothing to do with you as a person. What has everything to do with you as a person is what you have acquired and what you have struggled to achieve and what you have done for yourself and the choices that you have made. That is what makes you a better person than the other person. This ayat in which Allah speaks about all of humanity says this in Surah Hujurat, which is the 49th chapter of that, in ayat number 13, 13. In that, he says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha, wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu. He says that, O people, all of you, mankind, we have made you from a man and a woman, made you from male and female. And then we made you into tribes and nations. Why? In order that you may know one another for identification purposes. Nothing more than that. Every tribe, every nation, every differences that we created in each and every one of you is for identification purposes, so that you may know one another. If everyone had the same face and the same color, and if you're all robots or clones, we would need to have our name tag written on our forehead for us to be recognized. Allah created everyone different in order that it could be the name tag. That difference is our name tag, our identity. That's all it is. This has nothing to do with you being better or lower or anything like that. So when you see a difference with you and another person, it's only because Allah made it in order that you can have an identity of your own from the other person, from the second and third person. No two people are alike for that reason. And so that is why He created you like that. And then what? Inna akramakum. Then Allah goes on, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. He says the best amongst you are the ones who are the most pious. And piety is something that is earned, something that is gained, something that is worked on. It's not something that is given. Meaning it's your own achievement. So what makes you great is your own achievement, is your own works, is your own choices. That's what makes you greater than the other person. And this is what clearly Allah is saying in the Quran. Rasulullah emphasized this at the beginning of Islam. Many times he used to say this to people. He says, Ya ayyuhan nas kullukum li Adam wa Adamu min turab. He says, all of you mankind, all of you are from Adam, and Adam is from mud. He's from dirt. Adam is from dirt. In other words, all of you are from dirt. All of you are from dirt. Then he says, La fadla li Arabi ala ajami illa bit taqwa. He says, the Arabs have no superiority over the non-Arabs except with taqwa, except with their own achievement. Meaning everyone, if they work to achieve something, if they do something for themselves, that's different. And hence, my friends, good and bad has nothing to do with the color of your skin or any of these things. If the Imam is black, white, yellow, it doesn't matter. It should not matter at all. And anyone who thinks so should need to go back and talk to Rasulullah about it. And they need to talk to Rasulullah. Really, I just want them to wake up so that they can get ready for the Imam. We all need to wake up to get ready for the Imam. And we are discussing this in order that it should be made clear. Why are we doing this? Because it's important for us to have the correct thinking when we look at each other. If that's your thinking about the Imams, then you really, there's a reason then why our masjids are split up into ethnocentric communities based on race and nationality and language. Why? Since when did masjids go away from being Allah's masjids or centers, going away from being and belonging to Imam Mahdi to now they belong to a certain group of people? This is, that's why all these problems creep up, because it really terrible understanding of what's right and wrong. And that has to be made clear. It has to be brought away, and we need to do that. Otherwise, it will be so easy. Shaitan doesn't even need to work to divide us. We're already divided. And as I told you, one of the conditions is for us to unite. And if we have wrong ideas, and if you have wrong thinking, and if you have incorrect Islamic knowledge and thinking, then how can we be united? In fact, the enemies don't have to do anything to disunite us. We're already disunited in this if we have this sort of thinking, and that's what needs to happen. Let me give you another hadith regarding this. It is said from the Prophet, it is said that let not one group of people pride themselves over another group of people because of their race. Let not one race pride itself over another race because another people because of the race or the color of their skin. Because such racism is the garbage of the hellfire. It is the garbage of the hellfire. Fahma Jahannam. Garbage of the hellfire. That's what it is. That's where it belongs. And hence, it should not happen amongst believers. It should be the last thing that we should be looking at. In the, it was the Battle of Uhud. In the Battle of Uhud, there was a youngster, an Iranian youngster, who was fighting for Rasulullah, for the Muslims. He was in the Muslim army and he was fighting, and in his vigor and in his valor, as he's fighting, he knocked down an enemy, a kafir, knocked him down. And as he knocked him with his sword, struck him with his sword, knocked him off, he says, "Khudha wa ana al-ghulam al-farisi." He says, "Take this, and I'm an Iranian slave. Take this from an Iranian slave," meaning you Arab, take this from an Iranian slave. when the Prophet heard that, when the Prophet heard him say that, he called him. He says, why did you pride yourself on the fact that you are Farsi, you're Iranian? Why didn't you say that you are a part of the Muslims? Something that you have earned. Say this, it is better for you. Because he knew that, he would, by saying this, he would raise their ignorance. No, when we fight because we are Muslims, and hence another example of that. But it's interesting, and I really want to get more into it, and how this works. But we're out of time now. And this has been interesting, and it's Friday, so next week we'll see if we can get into this more. And thank you again for joining us. Please like us and do all the good things, down there. Subscribe, like, notification, and all of that. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for listening in. This has been Divine Allegiance, and I'm your host, Maulana Baig. And until next time, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.